Do you know what today is? It's White History Wednesday. Hey! Hey, how you doing? It's your girl, myalamis. And for those of you who are new here, White History Wednesday was made specifically for the people who said, why do black people need a whole 30 days to tell their history? And for that, I give you 52 days. Every Wednesday, we're going to tell white history, okay? You ready to hear it? Here it go. So today, I want to start off with the two-headed nightingales, sorry. Now, this was a pair of conjoined twins born into slavery and sold multiple times. Due to their unique circumstances, Millie and Christine McCoy were exploited, trafficked, and placed in freak shows, named the eighth wonder of the world. Now, during this time, they didn't just sit around and let people laugh at them, and they took this time to soak everything in and learn. So while they were on tour, being pranced around like some zoo animals, they taught themselves how to read, write, play instruments, and sing. Okay. So once they were free, they went back and bought the plantation that they were born on, and their parents just so happened to still be there, and they ran the plantation with their parents. Shout out to them. Yes, because I've been getting a lot of comments saying that Caucasian people freed us as if we didn't work, our ancestors didn't work hard to free themselves. Anywho, we're going to talk about the Starlight tours, okay? And I might butcher this, okay? Somebody let me know if I'm saying it wrong in the comments. In Saskatoon, Canada, and other areas, the police would arrest indigenous people, take them far away from home, like miles away, and make them walk back in less -0 degree weather. White History Wednesday. Because the crazy thing is, they did this to Native Americans. And I really want to point this out because last week I talked about how they were stealing their children and pretty much forcing them to believe that they're Caucasian when they're not. I actually met a lady. We're going to get into it. I met a lady who that actually happened to. Like, she was a patient at my job, and me and her just got to talking about the situation. And she was like, yeah, it happened to me. And I was like, wow. Wow. But it's something coming for that soon. Anywho, November 29th, 1990, and that was just what, 34 years ago, 34, 35 years ago. Neil Stonechild was found face down in the field 5 miles north of his home. The temperature dropped -18 degrees. Like, how inhumane do you have to be to put somebody outside in that kind of weather? Because at 40 degrees, I'd be over here shivering. So -18, you leave somebody to walk home with nothing but jeans and a t-shirt on. No shoes, no jacket, no nothing. And then people saw him, right, get beat up and cuffed in the backseat of the police car. However, the story that was released was that he walked away drunk from a party. That's, I guess, him being drunk is why he didn't have no clothes on in the cold. But he walked away drunk from a party to go turn himself into the police. And then he ended up freezing to death. White History Wednesday, because that sounds like a cover up to me. That definitely sounds like a cover up to me. Now, I want to get into slave in a box. Have you ever heard of slave in a box? Me neither, not until now. So apparently the thing that we all love that has changed names over the course of time started off, well, it became slave in a box once slavery ended. Okay, so in the 1950s, when Caucasian people lost domestic workers, pancake mix was marketed as slave in a box. Yes, what kind of pancake mix do you ask? Pearl Milling, aka Aunt Jemima. Okay, what they did was they took a picture from the minstrel shows of a black woman, and then they named her Aunt Jemima. And y'all know we used to love that Aunt Jemima all the time. However, Pearl Milling used to market that as slave in a box. Apparently, the pancakes were so good and so easy and fast to make that you felt like you still had a slave in your house. White History Wednesday. Okay, so now we are going to get into some things, and y'all please bear with me because this is a lot of information you're about to receive. So I got a comment the other day asking me to look into eugenics, and I was like, oh, what is that? Buckle your seatbelts. We're going on a ride. Okay, eugenics is an inaccurate theory linked to historical and present day forms of discrimination, racism, ableism, and colonialism. Okay, the theory is that humans can be improved through selective breeding of populations. Remember, we talked about breeding forms. It's worse than, it's not worse than breeding forms. It just shows how uneducated they are. Okay, so eugenics practices has caused a widespread harm, particularly to populations that are being marginalized. All right. So it gained popularity during the early 20th century. Eugenists worldwide believed that they could perfect human beings and eliminate so-called social ills through genetics and heredity. Right. They believe that the use of methods such as involuntary sterilization, we talked about that. The Mississippi appendectomies. Yeah. Segregation and social exclusion would rid society of individuals deemed by them unfit. Keyword, by them unfit. By them unfit. Because who the fuck do you think you are to say somebody is unfit? White History Wednesday. But let's continue because there's also another part to it called scientific racism. right? Now, scientific racism is the ideology that appropriates the methods and legitimacy of science to argue for the superiority of Caucasian European and inferiority of non-Caucasian people. Okay, because y'all be really trying to act like y'all don't be understanding what be going on, right? So pretty much they saying that the scientific part of it is that white Caucasian people are superior. Do you believe that? I don't. Okay. Francis Galton coined the term eugenics in 1883. Galton defined eugenics as the study of agencies under social control that may improve or impair the racial qualities of future generations, either physically or mentally. Galton claimed that the health and disease, as well as social and intellectual characteristics, were based upon heredity and the concept of race. So pretty much they have a concept that depending on your race determines how good or bad of a person you will be. However, we all know that that's not true. But this is White History Wednesday, so I'm going to go ahead and keep reading. And these are facts. These are facts. I'm just letting y'all know. During the 1870s and 1880s, so-called experts determined individuals and groups of people to be either superior or inferior. They believed biological and behavioral characteristics were fixed and unchangeable and placed individuals, populations, and nations inside of a hierarchy. By the 1920s, eugenics had become a global movement. There was popular, elite, and governmental support for eugenics in Germany, the United States, Great Britain, Italy, Mexico, Canada, and other countries. Y'all, these people are sick. These people are sick. Do you hear and understand me? These people are sick. Oh my goodness. Because they really thought that this thing was going to work. But it didn't work because the most well-known application of eugenics occurred in Nazi Germany. Between 1933 and 1945, they used this resource to cleanse the German people of those they deemed unworthy of life. They euthanized at least 70,000 adults and 5,200 children. They implemented a campaign of forced sterilization that claimed the lives of at least 400,000 victims. And this was in Germany. This was in Germany. This is, now all of this, let me tell you the why, because the why is very important. The why is that they were concerned of race suicide, okay, or the increasing differential birth rates between immigrants and non-Caucasian people compared to native-born Caucasian people. Meaning, what's going on now, how their population is declining. They pretty much came up with eugenics because they're like, yeah, we're going to take the best of the best and create babies and create better people so the world will be a better place. And we're going to stop black people from having kids and stop other races from having kids. And we're going to pretty much populate our own so that way we will always be superior to them, which backfired because with all of those breeding farms and everything they had, we started to outgrow them and outnumber them, just like now in 2025. Do y'all know in 2030 that minorities, what they try to say are minorities, because we're really not the minorities anymore, that we are going to overpopulate them, and that's why all this immigration stuff is going on, and they trying to get rid of people and bring in the Caucasian Africans, the white Afrikaners. It's a numbers game. I keep telling y'all that, but y'all got to keep up and follow with me, okay? So pretty much eugenics use the concerns to promote discriminatory policies like anti-immigration and sterilization. This keeps coming up in this article because Henrietta Lacks, the Mississippi appendectomy, like, hello people, this is, they really thought that they can control our population by doing these things, and we still came back better than ever. White History Wednesday, okay? I'm done with the eugenics because this is really, no, matter of fact, I want to go ahead and do a little bit more, okay? So they declared that certain individuals were unfit, feeble-minded, or antisocial, which resulted in the involuntary sterilization of at least 60,000 people through 30 states in the 1970s, okay? They targeted Latins, Native Americans, African Americans, poor Caucasian people, and people with disability during the entirety of the 20th century. White History Wednesday, because that just made my blood boil a little bit, because this is why I be questioning science, because y'all really thought that y'all can control the population with science. Anywho, the whistling walk, that's something else that I wanted to talk about. So the whistling walk was enslaved chefs were forced to whistle while they walked the food inside the main house, because a lot of the times the kitchens were outside. So they had to whistle while they walked to prove that they were not eating the food that they just fucking cooked. You mean to tell me that I have to prove to you that I'm not doing a taste test of what I cooked? Because slaves were not allowed to eat the good. White History Wednesday. And do y'all remember the MOVE organization? I feel like we talked about it at least 2 to 3 times during White History Wednesday, where pretty much the streets of Philly was bombed by the police there because they didn't like the movement. They didn't like what these people had to say, so they bombed them. Well, now how many years later in 2025, Philly is apologizing. My question is, what the hell is an apology going to do when you took lives? You took lives, and now you want to apologize in 2025? White History Wednesday. Y'all have a great day. I will see y'all later.